everybody, and welcome to our final segment of our Dragon's Maze set review. I'm Evan Irwin.
I'm Brad Nelson.
And we're here for the final time for our set review, including all of the green cards, all of the Golgari cards, all the Gruul cards, and all the artifacts as we round out our complete Dragon's Maze set review.
To be fair, all the Golgari and all the artifacts are kind of meh.
But
we got Gruul. Oh, Gruul card's good.
First of all, you're wrong. There's some really sweet Golgari cards in this set. Absolutely sweet ones. But we're going to start off with a green card, which is Crawl Warrior.
It's unique. I think he's a little bit too much of a hipster. He's like, oh, these Ritwell effects are too boring. I want to go the hard way.
Yeah, he's got a really good ability. You've probably never heard of it.
What's his ability?
Right, exactly.
Huh?
Huh?
What?
Makes himself huge and stuff?
Yeah,
You've never heard of that. That's too cool.
No,
for
it's
you.
just too cool.
It's new. It's a thing.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to work a lot harder on my actual typewriter because computers are just too outdated. 6 mana instead of 3 mana. That's more my style.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's old school.
It's hipster crawl.
All right. It's great and limited. Play it.
It's not that good and limited. It's fine.
We're backing it up.
All right, we're backing it up.
It's great and limited, Brad.
It's just a bear. 6 mana for +3/+3 is just not that efficient.
It's great and limited, Brad.
It's great and limited, guys.
Thank you. Maze Behemoth. That's how we influence opinions around here. You just keep saying it. 6 mana for the 5/4 Trampler. Like this guy, again, it shows you how bad I think the red one was.
Yeah.
Every single one of this cycle has an immediate impact on the board except that one.
I mean, trample isn't that big of an impact, I think.
But it is an impact.
It is an impact, and that could have a problem with a lot of things. But yeah, haste is not something. But they're never going to give first strike. That's just too good. But yeah, this guy's fine. I think.
And they all have the right stats, right? You know,
yep.
They all have 5/4 for the Trampler, and then the Vigilance guy was a 3/6, and so
it feels like they've been doing this for a while.
It's like they know what they're doing by now.
Yeah.
It's weird, isn't they?
Yeah. But good card.
It's a good card. I like it. It's not going to...
Sweet art.
Yeah, I'm not going to write home about it, but ultimately, if I need a 6-drop at the top of my curve, particularly in sealed, it's going to be great, and in draft, it could absolutely get there. No problem. Yeah. Mending Touch says, you know what, Regenerate? LOL.
You're not good no more.
I'm going to be cheaper. You going to suck.
I mean, to be fair, there's been so many Regenerate variants that are just all better. This is still bad.
Yeah, I mean, I understand, but it's weird because, there's certain card names that are just, sort of taken, Invisibility and Legends or whatever it was. There's certain names for cards, like Murder, I'm glad exists. Murder is awesome. It's beautiful. It does exactly what you expect it to do.
I hate that Murder exists.
Oh, I love that Murder exists.
No, because every time you're out in public and you're talking about magic and you're like, yeah, so I went and murdered it. And people are just like, what? If I just say I Agony Warped it, they're just like, oh, he's just talking about some game. But if I just bring up the word murder, it's like, then I went on a mugging. Then he mugged him.
Right, then I mugged him, and then I attacked in, It's like, you mugged him and attacked him? What?
Yeah.
But Regenerate, basically my point was, they have a set number of really awesome names for certain things that they can make a card for. And, when you use the word murder on a card, you want it to be the right card.
Yeah.
And Regenerate is one of the names that they had used for a green and a colorless instant that regenerated a creature. And, we just got to the point in Magic where you wanted it to be a 1-mana spell, and they kind of had to make a bad name, not a bad name, but not a great name, for what was a very iconic, really explanation-filled name.
Yeah.
What does it do? It regenerates a creature. Why? Because the name Regenerate. That's what it does. It's fine. It's whatever. It's just like the other Regenerate. It's an incredibly marginal limited card. It
can have some cool blowouts, but that's about it.
Yeah, maybe.
It's a blue. The thing is I like my green instance. I've always have for 1 mana to do some cool effect that it normally doesn't have, and that's sweet. And if you have a big bomb, you hold up 1 green. People aren't going to expect it. It gets there. Autumn's Veils, Fogs, Giant Growths, a Hornet Sting. All these cards I just always love because you never get flexibility out of a green deck. I mean, you never heard the story? I Hornet Stung Kibler, I Autumn's Veiled Guillaume, and I Fog and Giant Growth Conley, all in 3 in a row matches at a Pro Tour.
Wow.
I loved my green instances.
Oh, that was a sweet form.
And I'll be Mending Touching, too.
You'll be Mending your touch, buddy. Mutant's Prey, a very, conditional pit fight.
Yeah, pit fight's just a lot better than this card. The funny thing is, and I was telling Evan this earlier, Like, when I saw this card at home, I stared at it for 5 minutes because I thought it said, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature and then fight. And I'm like, what are they doing?
What?
I was
At
like,
instant speed.
this was like going to go in standard decks. I was tanking on it, like figuring out how to use it. It's like, oh my God, Boros, oh my God. And no, it's just way worse. And I mean, it's fine. It's just not as good as Pit Fight, but I still think it's fine.
It's conditional. It's gonna work when you in the Simic decks. You know, like this is gonna be a really late pass out for draft. You're always gonna be able to table this thing. You know, no one's really gonna care about picking it up early. It is gonna blow out anyone because no one is going to want to play around this.
Yeah.
And that to me is the benefit.
And that's just it. Like when we keep saying play around it, it's tough to play around 1-mana spells, not just because they know it exists, but because of the tempo boost you get from actually using the spells.
Right.
So that's where the blowouts and like not being able to play around comes from.
Right, because you know, when it comes to sort of a high level, a very professional level, what you have is two people who know Magic so incredibly well, and particularly the format they're playing right then so incredibly well, they know a majority of every single card you could be playing. Yeah. Every single iteration of a card that could be in your deck. If it's draft, they remember what was in the draft that they were drafting. Yeah. If it's constructed, they know your archetype or they know the format, so they know every possible card that could be in your hand or could be in your sideboard. So they begin to process these things. So when you're in limited and when you're looking at 1 green open and you got a bunch of evolved creatures, you know, for them to play around, to act as though you have that card in your hand is just not realistic.
I mean, it's also like, this is just a good card if you're playing against a Boros deck with a Simic deck. You don't have to play around. It's just like they have a Boros late and play, and you have an evolved guy, and you play a guy, it gets a counter, you fight it, you say go.
Right, you just
like
kill
it's
it
done,
and
yeah.
run. Yep, the end. So ultimately super, super marginal at best in limited. Fido Burst reminds me a lot of Groundswell, which was a landfall card, which, you know, if you would play a land, it's 1 green for +4/+4, which is awesome. Fido Burst is 2 mana for +5/+5 at sorcery speed, which is the problem.
Yeah, I feel like this is could potentially be like a 1 or a 2 of in a invisible Stalker deck. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. But like Silverblade Paladin with Rancor paired to an Avacyn's Pilgrim, you just give a +5/+5 and attack. Like this is a powerful effect.
It's a hell of a boost, no doubt about it. 2 mana for +5/+5. That's I don't think ever been seen.
Might of Oaks, you know, like like Stonewood Invocation. These cards were rare, and like yes, they were instant, but they were 4 mana to get +5/+5 +7/+7. This is 2 mana for that. I think if that is a potential deck with just Shroud boost, this could be maybe up there with the enchantments.
Yeah, I think the reason that this card goes from like completely unplayable to it's got a chance is because Hexproof exists, and that's a thing. So I like that card for that. Wizards! Ii Gatekeepers. Now this card, it's got sort of Heroes Reunion attached to it, and you know, gaining 7 life is no joke. No, like that is actual. A lot of times, time walk, quote unquote, when it comes to going back and forth in the aggressive race. They smash, you smash, they smash for 7. You play Ii Gatekeepers. They basically just skip their last turn. Yeah. So that is a very powerful effect.
And so, like, now that we're at the last one, I just want to bring up. All of these have this very defensive ability. I mean, the red one does give haste, but that also can be used later in the game. I don't know how this format plays out yet, but I have a guess now that we're on the last day of set reviews that there are the guild splash of color, or maybe even trying to force a guild, because there is the potential chance of just being 1 guild maybe, if you're lucky, and just being 2 colors. But if you're not, there's some that are just going to soft splash, but then there's going to be the hard 3 or 4 or 5 color decks that are just being greedy. But the way to get to those greedy points is to play these 2/4s that have these marginal abilities to help you get there. And I think that's where this card is. I think this is like the 5 color all-star. You know, like you're going to try to do this amazing thing later in the game, but how do I get there?
The 6 or 7 Guildgate type deck.
Yeah, and like I've
runs everything.
And I haven't done anything in the early turns because I've been playing these gates. Now, because of that, now I'm gaining 7 life. Right. I've got this 2/4. You have to deal with this, but like if you attack me, I go back to a life total that was reasonable from last turn.
I make a 2/2 with the white guy. You know, I kill some with the black guy, and all that.
And you
stuff.
play a bunch of these guys as your mid game because they all slow the game down and they all have this sweet ability. And I think that's where it's at. Like I think it's like a bunch of gates, a bunch of these 2/4s. Those set up those like wonky 5 color drafts, and I say wonky, but I think it's real.
Of course, it could always be real. It depends on sort of if it's there or not. And this card also reminds me a lot of Primal Command. When Primal Command was a thing back when Lore Block, way back in the day when the rocks were soft, the Primal Command's option of one of the modes
when
of
the rocks were soft.
when the rocks were malleable, and the gain 7 mode of Primal Command was the most underrated of those modes, and was before the format was over, was usually the most used of those modes in my experience, because it literally time walked. You're in this aggro thing. At the time you were playing elves with Herick and all this stuff, and they would just bash you to pieces, and you would gain 7, go find whatever, and the game would essentially sort of reset from the turn before.
Yep.
And I feel that's exactly what this card is trying to do. It just resets the game from before they got to attack the last time, and I think that's really powerful.
Yeah, no, I like this card a lot.
Super cool and limited. Skylasher.
Oh my God, this card. Finally, Wizards, thank you so much for listening to us. Like, I think this is probably the best card in the set.
Yep.
Yeah, by far. So, let's just talk about everything it does.
All right, let's do it.
All right. Blocks Delver Secrets and Insectile Aberration.
It does.
Beats Geist.
Sure.
Blocks Snapcaster. Doesn't trade with Snapcaster Mage.
Yep.
It beats Vapor Snake.
It does.
It does.
They can't gut shot it.
They can't gut shot it.
Nope.
No, you can't even mana leak it.
Right.
Yeah, it blocks all the Midnight Haunting or the Moorland Haunt tokens.
Right.
The only thing that Delver wait.
Well,
It rotated. This card actually does nothing anymore. It's like
it would have been the most beautiful M13
it's not even
rare.
flash relate. It just showed up when the party was over.
Oh, it's not even like, it's Zach Hill lead developed this set and M13, yet this was in Dragon's Maze, and Thragtusk was in M13, where Thragtusk was supposed to hurt on Delver, but this would have destroyed Delver. This would have crushed Delver's dreams.
Why does this exist now, though? Because Delver is dead. Like, is it supposed to be in Modern where there's Lightning Bolt? Like,
if there's any future Delvers in Standard, at least you can say this exists. I feel like we're back to the Kataki Wars Wage problem. It's not that bad, but it was, and it never even impacted. Like, Kataki got to actually impact something for a while, but the damage was already done. This never, literally, just did not hit at any point in time when Vapor Snag, Mana Leak, Delver, Geist, whatever, Snapcaster was such a thing, and this card would have been so beautiful. It would have been the most amazing antithesis, and it's one of those cards that people look for when they don't want to play the best deck.
Yeah.
If I didn't want to play Delver, you would play Skylashers in your deck, no matter what it is, Naya midrange, whatever, and it would have been amazing. And it's unfortunate that it took this long for this card to be printed.
and now that it took this long, the only thing that this card is going to impact is the bird's life in the art.
Makes me sad. I even want to think it could hit Legacy, but Nimble Mongoose is a card, and otherwise they have Lightning Bolt, and it's just not that great. I mean, it's fine against Rug. It's just it doesn't stop Nimble Mongoose, so you're screwed.
No,
there.
and the green mirrors, like the Delvers are the weakest creature.
Right, and they're going. They have Scavenging Ooze, obviously Tarmogoyf, yada yada. It's just. This was such an amazing development card. It was such, like a development kind of scalpel for the metagame in the completely wrong time.
To show my anger of this card.
Thrashing Mossdog. I am completely convinced that this card only exists because they had to put Scavenge on something.
Yeah,
They had to do it on something.
We're just stuck with the ability. We're just like,
Like they go through the file, they go through like the set, and they go, wait a minute, we didn't put Scavenge on anything.
Yeah.
Quick, Scavenge 6 mana, lol. That's it.
I like how but they had Scavenge.
They did.
They showed us, and we're all like, no, bro, this is bad.
Yeah.
Like, this is terrible. And they're like, people are like, no, Dead Bridge Goliath is a good magic card. It's good, And that's what Watsy said. And then we're like, no, it's really bad.
Yeah, because Tom LaPelle was just like, we pushed it as hard as we could push it.
Yeah.
And there was that, it was kind of
You
an
just
awkward,
don't understand what good cards are.
I remember that.
And I was like, no, dude, I know what good cards are. This one's a bad one.
Oh, it was so awkward. I love those guys to death, but if there was one article that just made me kind of cringe, it was you guys don't understand how good this mechanic is, and you don't understand how hard it is for us to make these mechanics, so we couldn't make it that good, because if we made it that good, you wouldn't like it, and blah, 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 blah. Don't care.
No, give us some playable things, man.
Give us some sweet stuff. Now, we're going to get to the sweet stuff with Scavenge here shortly, where they actually went all the way, and I feel in the right way, which is great. But this is just an example of like a 4-mana 3/3, good old hill giant. Yes, it blocks flyers, who cares? It has scavenge, I feel, because they needed it.
Yeah, like I don't even see if it would be busted if they just made this card cost colorless green to scavenge. Like I don't think that's too good.
I think it's borderline. Well, I think part of it is the limited metagame. You know, like your limited environment could get ruined if you push it too far because you want it to be constructed.
I want it to be one uncommon. Like I feel like because there's not much scavenge in the set. I feel like they could have just made one uncommon that was like super pushed. Like give us our one card, right?
Yeah, I mean like Slitherhead for 0 was not breaking anything.
I mean,
to scavenge for nothing. Like okay, you got
it broke my trust in you thinking cards were good.
3 Slitherheads. Seriously? All right, Deadbridge Chant. That's a mythic.
Yeah, so I think that this card is a little too slow.
I think it's 1 mana away from being like insanely gross.
Yeah, I mean, it does have a really good ability. The problem is like you can kill the card to not get any effect.
Well, actually, the way that it's worded, because it says choose a card at random in your graveyard, at the beginning, like the only thing that triggers is at the beginning of your upkeep, blah, 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 blah. So they can't cremate the card that you're going to get back.
Oh, no, that's not what I mean. I mean, like,
If
the
that's
actual
what you're saying.
enchantment can be killed
Yes.
to not get an effect.
Exactly.
And I don't like my cards not having any effect on the game. Like, if it's a creature, that's fine, because the creature's going to do something. But this costs 6. It's going to have this slow impact on the game. You're milling 10, so you're going to end a land. You know?
Yeah, I mean, I guess your question is, which do you feel is more impacting, a Deadbridge Chant or a Staff of Nin? Because they're both 6 mana, and they're both going to draw you a card every turn thereafter you play it.
I'm going to go with option C, Sphinx's Revelation.
And we go with option C.
Or Rakdos Return or Sire of Insanity. Anything. Like, this card seems fun. I think it's going to be great for, like, an EDH or Commander format.
Right.
It's probably going to be super good and limited. But
yeah, if you get this unlimited, please play it. It's awesome.
Yeah.
It's really, really good
until
there.
you deck yourself.
Yeah, well, I mean, come on now. Like, top 10 cards of your graveyard, and then you're going to be drawing 7 to start, and then so you have 27, you draw 2. All right, be careful and don't deck yourself, okay? Because math is real.
10's tough.
10's a thing, but ultimately it feels like in constructed, it's the best way you explain it is a 6 mana do nothing. Like, yes, it can draw you cards later. Yes, you can set it up.
But Angel of Serenity.
But Angel.
Crater Hoof.
What? Yeah. So it's sweet in that regard. And you can set it up. What's really cool about this card, what I think has a lot of Johnny potential, is that if you play Deadbridge Chant, it mills a bunch or whatever, and you Tormod's Crypt away your graveyard, and you play Time Warp, all of a sudden, it doesn't exile the cards you play. It just brings them back every turn.
So if we just play Tormod's Crypt in our deck to kill our own, to play Deadbridge Glide, and then find a Time Warp in our hand and not have that countered or killed by any Delver Secrets or Tron lands.
In the meantime? We good.
I think we're onto something.
Dude.
This is insane.
We broke it. Drowning Filth. Not nearly as good as the black-blue twisted...
Or Grizzly Salvage or Trackers
thing.
Instinct or Mulch. Like that, it has like a cool graveyard potential, but the problem with this card is like you're not going to get lands in your graveyard in the first place. Like,
right. Like if you get lands in your graveyard, normally something went wrong anyway.
Yeah.
Like something went bad and you don't like it in that regard. It's not that good in limited because of the same problem. Yeah. How do you get lands in your yard in limited when they're not destroying them or you're not discarding them? And I like the art.
The art's sweet, but yeah, it's not going to see any play. Like I wouldn't even feel comfortable targeting a 1/1 with this card.
Yeah, I feel like you literally, like if they could have made it, that creature gets -2/-2 for each land in your graveyard, you'd still be kind of iffy about it.
No, that would make it a good card.
It'd make it better.
Yeah, but yeah, like
make it a lot more playable.
For what this is, it's just not a good card. You're not going to play it in any format. It's bad.
I would no, I don't like it at all.
Nope.
Not good. Gaze of Granite, when you really don't want punishment to look
when you want to make us all mad that we can't just have a good Pernicious Deed. Like, I am sick of green-black decks always getting the bad removals. Like,
yeah, I mean, you remember Crime and Punishment?
I mean. Oh, wait, next one. Oops, I thought it was the next.
Sorry. You remember Crime and Punishment from the original block, which it had the white-black X and then the green-black X, and it would destroy each non-land equal to X. So I understand that. I feel like that was the reason this wasn't green-black X.
Yeah.
Was that they said there was a precedent that you can destroy each non-land permanent equal to the converted mana cost of X if it's just green-black X. But if you want to do X or less, you got to pay another black mana. So I understand that issue. My problem is the reason that Pernicious Deed was so sweet was that you could invest 3 mana, play it. You could always pop it for 0, maybe pop it for a couple mana, whatever. But you could untap your mana, and then you have 3 mana that you play the Pernicious Deed with, plus more in order to get the most value out of it. Whereas that doesn't happen. So it looks like a very powerful card that is ultimately stupidly expensive for what you get out of it.
Yeah, you don't get enough out of it. It's not going to be good enough. Like, I keep saying Commander, but I also feel like there's awesome cards for Commander, but then there's cards that are not good enough for Standard that could be. When you get into a multiple player environment, especially with a lot of artifact mana, I'm a Savra guy. I'm that jerk. I make everyone sack stuff. So I'm going to make them sack all their artifact mana too. Like they get all their signets and all their
soul rings and
all
their mana crypts and stuff.
And I'm just like, no, they're all dead.
Yep.
Thanks for playing. I'm going to play Savra and make y'all sack your guys now too.
Balls.
Ha. Ha. That'll be a showstopper.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I really wanted this card to be good. I really wanted this card to be Pernicious Deed, except it was destroy all, non-land, extra less, not just artifacts, creatures, and
kill the walkers.
Enchantments. But it was, I I understand that Wizards sort of is in this position where you don't just want to reprint/remake these old awesome cards because you want the set to be about the new cool stuff. But what you're left is cards that aren't quite as exciting as they could have been, and that makes me sad.
Yep.
Karazda Gorgon, aka snake hair people.
Snake hair people are scary. I don't like them.
They're good.
And she's just looks like she's just having fun, chilling.
This is
in the sewers.
Absolutely the card you want in the Simic Golgari deck. Oh,
yeah.
Oh my God. Like, I want to remove all my counters. I'm going to play another guy. Like, this has a ton of toughness, so it's going to trigger all of them anyway.
Yeah.
So you're able to trigger all the evolve triggers and then just like,
it makes combat miserable.
Combat is absolutely not going to happen in the way that you want it to when your opponent has this.
Yeah. This is a sweet card, and I do like that. Like, these are the cards that we didn't pick up on all of them throughout the set review, but this is one of those cards that's like, breaking the guild barrier. Like, this is for the Simic Golgari.
Right. There's a lot of
deck.
Yeah, there's a lot of really subtle ways that you can make a Golgari card, but at the same time really support the other guilds that are aligned with it in a way that's really beautifully subtle. I think it's
and I think
great.
Either we're gonna break a lot of those barriers once we start drafting and figuring it all out. Like, I think limited content. Like, personally, I don't know how much I'm gonna be playing because I feel like once you move to Roanoke, all you do is play Constructed, because every weekend you're at some kind of open or something playing Constructed.
That's what happens.
Yeah, but I thought when I moved here, I was like, I can't believe these guys don't play Limited. I play 250 Innistrad drafts. I'm going to make them all Standard.
And Standard all the time.
But
in Limited, this guy is an all-star.
Yeah.
2/5 Death Touch to start with. Good luck getting through that. Now, Putrefy, everybody knows how good this card is.
All right, so I have one bone to pick with this card.
Okay.
I like the old art. I like the old art a lot.
I like the old art better.
Yeah.
It's
fine.
It's like when they redo the MTGO cube, the Holiday Cube, they redo Ancestral Recall's art, and you go but it's Ancestral Recall.
It just means that
they redo Library of Alexandria arts, and you go, dude, that was Library of Alexandria. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, that just means that I have to, spend a couple more dollars and buy an old set, get the old set. That's what I'll have to do because I don't want to play with this one. But
yeah, it's okay
because I'm gonna have to buy the set because the card's just bonkers and it's so good. And one thing, why are you printing Putrefy, not Mortify, Wizards?
I know.
Hey, I was expecting my Mortify. I like my black, white, red. I like my good removal too.
What y'all doing now?
Yeah. But yeah, this card beats Lot Troll. I still feel like they should just print a removal spell that's like, destroy target creature, can't be regenerated, and Falcon Wrath Restorer can't be indestructible. And it's dead.
And if it's indestructible, it's not indestructible, and then kill it.
Yeah.
Kill it dead.
Because that's the one thing that this card just doesn't do. It kills Boros Reckoner, no damage is dealt to anything.
It does.
Kills Lotleth Troll, does a good job at that.
No regeneration.
Can't beat Falcon Wrath Aristocrat.
Nope. Can't do it.
Nothing can.
Sorry. Card's sweet. Rod Farm Skeleton, that's a cute limited card. Really cute. It's cute.
Kind of like for Standard.
What?
Yeah, it's sweet.
Get out of here.
It's not that bad against a control decks. It comes back for 4 mana and mills you 4 more cards. So it assembles the troops, right? Literally, by looking through the graveyard and putting them together. Mill into another one, mill into another one. Oh. Get all your graveyard interaction stuff.
Look, Brad, it's rare that I tell you this, but you're wrong. I love you, buddy. This card is not that good at all. It's barely that good in limited, if only because it just can't block. You're gonna like, you know, what is this scenario of standard that you see this, like you play like 4 mana, you're gonna play this guy? Well, he can't block any of the aggro guys.
Well, no,
so he's batting his aggro
no.
decks. Is it about milling him so you can bring him back?
No.
So
it's,
you can mill more?
Yeah. It's like bringing him back so you not only get to mill more, but it can be like this random threat against the control decks while you're also putting cards into your graveyard and you're trying to set things up. Fine.
Yep. This card, however, this card is unreal. This card is a standard, modern, maybe even legacy. Like,
yeah,
oh my God, this card is unreal. This card made Death's Shadow like quintuple in price.
Really?
Oh yeah.
What's Death Shadow do again?
It was from Rise of Eldrazi. It was a black 13/13 that got minus X, which equals to your life total.
Yeah, that's a little busted.
So I'll play it, he'll die. I'll play a black, and it, you know, when it's in the graveyard, it's a 13/13. So it puts 13 +1/+1 counters. Obviously, Vexing Devil is unreal. Like, this card is going in my cube. This card is absolutely ridiculous.
Does this mean I should just like brew for Portland now?
Basically, I think this card just blows my mind.
I mean, it is very good. It protects itself.
At how good this card is. It's unreal. I just, you know, for me, like, this card is all potential, and the potential is insane. I play Vexing Devil, like, okay, you're going to let it resolve, right? All right, well, then I'll just sack it to regenerate this guy, pay a red, 4+1/+1 counters to do 6. Like, that's your options. That's what Varolz does to you. It gives
really
you
good.
bad and worse options. And if you choose the bad, he'll just give you the worse anyway.
That is pretty good, yeah.
There is nothing I like more
than
this card.
You just made me start brewing. I'm going to have to start figuring.
Woo! It's so good. So good. I love it. Now, Pyro Wild Shaman, you'd know that you might have some thoughts on this card, which probably beyond mine, which is like, I think it's cool.
So I started working with this card already because I really liked it. I was like, I think it could go in Blitz or something. And the thing I realized immediately is you don't play this card unless it's a deck that you would want Keswick Wolf run in. Now, even if it's not green, if the deck's not green, if you would play a non-green Keswick Wolf run, you play it because this is 2 mana to activate and then 3 to get back. And if you can't do both sides, it's not worth the slot. Right. And it pretty much gives what Keswick Wolf run does. You know, for 5 mana, it gives 3 power.
Right.
And that's kind of what I saw because I felt like this is the kind of card that you want to play and get back immediately.
Exactly.
And I tried to do the whole, like, I can interact with my opponent, and I can, like, first strike and get it back and play it that turn, and none of that works. Just doesn't work. The thing that could happen is, like, you attack with, like, a guy, it gets through, you're like, for 5 mana +3, and put it back in my hand. So I don't think it's that good of a card. I think
so that's
Magic
your best case scenario is what you're saying.
Yeah, I think this card, like,
Magic, giant growth.
Magic's just too fast now. The cards are too good. There's a different Blood Rush card that I'm more excited about, and at one flick of the finger, we can get to it.
Well, I wanted to quickly mention, I think it's Thunderblade Charge was from Future Sight. Do you remember this card? Where it was, it's something Blade Charge. I can't remember exactly what it was. It was a 2 red Nicolas for a 3 damage spell, like a lightning bolt. And it was a sorcery, but when a creature you control dealt damage to a player, you could pay 5 mana to copy it from your graveyard, and that was it. You could just copy it from your graveyard for the rest of the turn. And so there was a lot of fanfare and excitement over that card. You know, people thought it was going to be really good, but at the end of the day,
it just wasn't good enough.
It was like a ton of mana to activate. You had to hit your opponent, which was tough. And this card sort of felt
especially when you use your mana to get through things to get to hit to your opponent. That's the whole thing. It's like your opponent has to be willing to let you untap, not do anything to them, and still get contact.
It's just not that good.
Yeah.
Sorry. I like it a lot, though. It's super cute. Rubble Belt Maca.
Yeah. Now, I don't know.
Just the kitty with the freaky. Really? What is wrong with your eyes, dude? It felt like they used the clone tool accidentally in Photoshop. And they were like, oh, eyes. And they're like, oh, that looks pretty good. That's cool. I'm okay with that.
And he's not actually, he's just playing with them, but you're like, oh my God, 6 eyes, we have to run.
Right.
He just like wants to actually play around.
Yeah, guys, I'm just slicing your face open because it's cute. I like the way the red stuff flies. It's weird.
Now I'm going to eat it.
As a hill giant.
Yeah, it's a hill giant. Like, I don't know if this is going to be good, but I'm interested in it because it's such a pushed card. Like, WotC pushed it.
Sure.
1 mana, discard +3/+3. That's giant growth stats, that's brute force stats. Now, those cards haven't always been that great, but the formats haven't been this fast either.
It's true. And Giant Growth has now seen top 8 like Grand Prix Open Series play because we're just in that format where it's so creature heavy that ability is, believe it or not that bad to consider.
And it comes on a 3/3 for 4, and like I'm not saying that's good, but hey, you know what? When you have 4 mana, you have this hand, and you have a naked Lightning Mauler, like you can just go pair tech. Like
it's a heal giant. Like that's it. Luckily and honestly, thankfully, I'm glad that we haven't just kept surpassing to the point where heal giants don't matter. You know what I mean? Or it has to be a 4 mana 4/4, or we just immediately dismiss it. But that's not true. 4 mana 3/3 still have their place, and this card is just really beautifully positioned.
And I feel like it's pushed. I don't know if it's going to see any play, but I definitely know that Blood Rush probably costs 3 and then 2 and out of 1.
Exactly. I agree with you 100%. Now, Feral Animist is a reprint from Guild Pact. It was marginal to non-existent before. I feel it will be marginal and non-existent now, and that's cool. It's got all the potential, but not a lot of.
Well, so these are the cards that I feel like there's this group of Magic players out there. I've not met one of them yet.
Oh, they're out there.
I know, but there's this group of people that like, I figured out how to make infinite mana. Now I must do something awesome with it.
Yep.
Not just fireball him.
Well, yeah, but you have to Feral Animist and make him infinite power and then fling him.
Yes, that is what I'm going to do.
Wahaha.
Ability exists.
Like there has to be bucket lists of ways to win Magic games, and that's got to be one of them. You know, fling your opponent to death, which however you do that is however you do that. And if that's not a thing, that should totally be a thing.
Yep.
The Magic player, how to win bucket list. Ultimately, Feral Animist is.
I feel like the best way to fling your opponent is the Death Shadow with the Vorals, and that seems sweet.
Woo!
That seems so busted on turn 4. Just attack with a 15/15.
Yes. Vorals is.
Oh wait, that's what I'm gonna do in Portland anyway with Tron mana. I didn't see that coming, did you?
And like, no sir. Like now, Feral Animist ultimately, super cute card. Marginal and limited.
Yeah.
If you need a 23rd playable, he's your man.
Oh wait, I just thought about it. Death Shadow, Latrellus Trample, and Death Shadow. That's actually insane. Wow.
Yeah, we all done here with you being impressed with Vorals, because I was impressed with Vorals pretty freaking quick.
Wow. Yeah. Okay.
Now, Gruul Warchant, if you're looking for an Orcish Aura Flame, this is a hell of an Orcish Aura Flame. I like my Pyro Heart Wolves. I like my Orcish Aura Flames. I would like to put the peanut butter and the chocolate together. And make a really scary enchantment that is going to make all my creatures pretty insane.
Yeah, Pirate Wolf already proved like that ability is relevant, and this is just a better version. Pirate Wolf doesn't like die to all the same removal spells. This affects the game immediately when it comes into play, also giving the +1/+0 boost, which that helps you when your opponent's double blocking you. It's like, I guess I'll double block and I'll take the 6, but I'll kill off your guy for 1 card. Well, maybe that +1/+0 helps out. So.
Part of me feels and wonders that, like, if you're playing a Naya Blitz deck, and it's a Blitz deck, or so, if you're playing sort of a Naya deck, if you want to go down and up the land count a little bit, you know, if you're playing a mirror, this certainly feels like a mirror breaker. And part of the reason Pyro Heart Wolves existed was to get through, you know, like all these stupid blockers that other people could have, and that's what this card does.
Most of the time the mirrors end up just being a who floods first or who deals the damage first. Like,
or who has the most removal spells.
Yeah, like this is the kind of card that I want to fight like Thragtusk. Like, you know, this gives Thragtusk the finger. It really does. It's like, you know what, you're awesome, but you're not blocking.
Right.
So I think that's what this card wants to fight, is like the Bant decks and the Thragtusks.
How playable is it in Limited?
I think it's extremely playable, especially for the Gruul decks that want to get at least one guy through to Blood Rush it. Like, it doesn't want to get smited all over the place and doesn't want everything to die. Like, you want to make sure that your one guy gets through, so all of my Blood Rush can go on that sometimes. So I think this card could see play, especially because being forced to double block is a big thing, as well as that +1/+0 to your entire team. Like, that's really cool.
That's really cool, and it is a non-zero factor for blowouts.
Yeah.
Herick Thar, the Unbowed.
I think this card is insane. I was starting to work with them, but then they showed me Siren Sound, and I'm like, all right, done.
Oh, yeah.
But I still think this card is good. I think it's powerful effect to, like, take 6 if you want to Wrath me. Like, it works. It, like, curves up with those huge creatures like Thornor Kite, Rourke. Like, I think that's awesome, but I do think at one point we're going to see this guy win a game of Magic or a tournament. Like,
yeah, I don't doubt that this card can win games of Magic, certainly, and can win tournament games of Magic if you wanted it to. My problem is Sire of Insanity was revealed after, and if you want to play a 6-mana, 6-power guy that just destroys a control deck, I feel like this is not your man. Like, you want the one that makes them discard all of their hand every single turn.
We might just be wrong, though. 6 damage to answer this guy?
It's a lot, no doubt about it. I mean, when it was first spoiled, obviously, I really got excited about it because I thought it was great. But what you have happen in any spoiler season is you'll see a Phyrexian Obliterator, or whatever. And you'll be like, oh my God, 4 black for a 5/5 trampler and does all this stuff and no one can block it ever and yada yada. And then later on they show you Dismember, And so I feel like what happened was they showed you Ruric Thar, and it's fine. It's a way that they unveil their spoilers, and I think it's a great idea. But, they unveil Ruric Thar, you get excited, and then they go, and Sire of Insanity over down here. And you go, well, I like this card, but oh my God, this card. So there's an ebb and a flow, and there's a real art to how to unveil their spoilers, and I know they work really hard on.
Oh, you mean they don't just show Jace the Mind Sculptor on day one?
Exactly, like they did that one time. But, the way that they unveil these things is important. The way that R&D has both rated the card internally and the cards in which they show in what order, I think is another way to do it, because you want cards that excite people at different times and in different ways throughout the spoiler season. I thought this card did that. Ultimately, awesome and limited, super crazy sweet and limited, could make it in constructed.
Yeah.
Ultimately.
Pretty sweet card.
Savage-born Hydra.
All right, so we have a debate. You guys
here
are
we
gonna
go.
help us. First, we're just going to talk about this card. It's Double Strike. You see it on the screen. But which one is better, Primordial Hydra or Savage-born Hydra? I'm on the Savage board. He's on the Primordial.
Primordial.
And let's just argue it real quick.
Let's do it, shall we? Here's what I like about Primordial, and my number one sticking point is that if you play a Primordial Hydra for any amount of X, it will, by itself, without you having to do a thing, win the game.
Double Strike. No, that's seriously all I got. It's Double Strike, and it's
a mana
Gore-Clan Rampager.
Ah.
I don't know. I like Double Strike.
It works really well with pump spells in ways that Primordial
and it's a mana
doesn't.
dump. I do understand that it'll take over the game eventually on its own, but the thing that I like about Savage-born is that you can still pump it. It's like a mana sink later in the game, and it's Double Strike. It's so impossible to do with Double Strike.
Well, it works really well with the Gore-Clan Rampager in ways that the Primordial Hydra didn't. The Primordial also had to have 10 counters before it gained trample. That was a thing. You had to sort of wait on that.
Well, this guy never gets trampled.
It doesn't get trampled unless you blood rushed your Rampager, and then all of a sudden this card is just legitimately and ridiculous. And
it's got better art too.
It has really sweet art, no doubt about it. The art's amazing, and the ability to put a counter, put a counter, put a counter, attack. They block with whatever, you Rampager for just 2 mana for the rest. I mean, that's a way to win the game. So no doubt about it. I think it's a sweet mythic. It's a great Hydra. Hydras are awesome. I loved it a lot. I liked it a whole lot at first, and then my buddy was like, "Well, Primordial Hydra wins by itself." And then, but I think there are upsides.
That makes sense. No, I mean it does.
But there are upsides that this card has that.
But I think we both can agree on.
It's awesome.
Not standard playable.
Sorry.
I apologize.
Sweet and
for
limited.
This inconvenience.
Unbelievably unlimited, unbelievable and limited, and awesome in kitchen tables. Scab Clan Giant.
I love ogres, because you just never know what they're gonna do, and then WotC keeps that flavor.
They do. I like that. They're just walking around and just stepping on that guy. I'm sorry.
I just feel like it sits down and he comes down. You're like, cast my Scab Clan Giant. And he gets there and he just looks around at the enemy like, where am I? And then one guy just goes, ugh. And he's like, whoa. And
just smashes him to death. Now, obviously, if your opponent only has one creature, it's awesome. You know exactly which one he's going to
Especially when you
fight.
troll them and make you roll the dice. I mean, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
It's at random. It's
at
right
random.
there.
I have to roll.
I have to randomly see if I'm going to kill him.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the artwork just works perfectly. I mean, I want a blindfolded giant just randomly swinging his club and smashing somebody upside the head.
He probably was actually at his own birthday party and they were spinning him, but he kind of got stumbled and
he
ran into a war.
Oh, oops, sorry, smash. Exactly. The Scab Clan Giant himself, I think, You know, the reason this card is uncommon, the reason this card is 6 mana is because like it's not difficult to get yourself in a situation where if they have 1 creature or if they have 2 creatures that are both really good in their own way, but Scab Clan is bigger, you're going to win. It's going, you know, like there's a higher toughness than a power. You're going to get a lot of value out of it. It's awesome in that regard.
Yeah, for sure.
I like that card a lot. Zartog Ancient, because you need your mana flares on 7/5s.
Yeah, I don't really understand this card. Even the art is sweet, but it's also like, is that mountain walking around? Is that a boar mountain?
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's so awesome. Like, I love the art.
Art is unreal.
Yeah, but for the most part, the spell is just like, you just invested 5 mana into 7/5. Your opponent probably has 5 mana, and there's a card called Sphinx's Revelation. Star of Insanity, Rakdos Return. Like, I don't want my opponent having mana in this format at all.
This does not seem like constructed playable in the slightest, but for the commander players, it seems absolutely terrific. For limited, I mean, like, it's dangerous. You know, you're giving them the option of, if they have some stupid X spell, you gave them all the mana they ever wanted. If they're lacking on double green or double black or double whatever, and you play that card, you just gave it to them. So, like, there's a lot of push and pull. Yes, it's a 7/5 or just 5 mana, but you've given them a whole heck of a lot, and they also get to use it before you do.
And that's the big problem, So
that's your real issue.
Yeah, I feel like this probably will just be one of those friendly commander cards. And I'm either wrong on this, or I feel like there's commander players only, like mono commander players out there, like, Watsy loves this. They really love us
so much.
Our format's so much more awesome now.
Oh, Zartog Ancient is the best, and that's fine. And I hope you guys get a huge kick out of it. In limited, it's hard to recommend playing this guy because, man, you will set yourself up for such blowouts.
Well, especially when your opponent, like if your opponent misses a land drop, you can't play this. If your opponent has like a bunch of cards in hand, you can't play this.
Right. I swear to God, you're going to play this card, and they're going to have like 3 mana out, and you're going to be like, Zartog Ancient, they go, okay, and then they like draw a land, and they go, Trostani Summoner, boom, 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 go.
or they just go like the Primordial or something and kill it, you know. It's like, thanks for the mana boost, now I get my 6/8 out. Exactly.
There's just so many different ways for this to go wrong. Yeah. I would not suggest you play this card in anything but casual. Zartog Druid, this is a really interesting way.
Yeah, unique magic card.
Super cool. I'd never even thought, like, this was one, like, it really surprised me when I read it. I was like, huh? That's a sweet Llanowar elf.
Yeah, it's just,
I like it.
It's cool. I mean, I like that it has both abilities of a red mage. Like, there's been red 1/1s and green 1/1s that do both sides of this.
Right.
But, like, the whole flavor of, like, taking mana out of the planet and shooting fireballs at your opponent, just, it doesn't feel, it's like, this guy is just so good at multitasking. He's just like, mana fireball.
He's doing this, he's doing that, he slices, he dices.
He's greedy. He won't give you all of it. I think if he didn't deal the 1 damage to them, he would have gave you 2 mana.
Fair. I feel like this would have been a far more interesting design while mana burn was a thing.
Yeah.
Because then it would have been a sort of a tension of, you know, I add the mana, but do I use it, or I just deal 1 to both of us, you know, that type of thing. But, you know, when there's no mana burn, it's just all upside.
Yep.
So at worst, he's going to deal a damage to your opponent every single turn. But at best, he's going to be able to go down turn 2, ramp you up into 4, ramp you into 5, yada, yada,
and there's not much ramp in this format. That's
there's
the
not
thing.
a lot.
And especially not 2 to 4, because, like Gyre Sage, like, one of the only real ways that I've found to go from 2 to 4 in this format is to go like Gyre Sage into Burning Emissary to use that mana to filter to get to 4. Like, this guy gets you there, and that's the cool thing. And I like that, especially in the limited format where it's one of the only accelerations.
Right.
And
or in the block format, because again, without Gyre Sage and some shenanigans, you're kind of stuck.
Yeah, I think playing like a big Gruul creature on turn 3 on the play is going to be really popular, especially because of him. He's going to set you up for some really good green decks.
Right. So I feel like he's really great in limited. He's probably not going to happen constructed, but you never know, particularly in block constructed. I think he has definitely some potential. We are up to our split cards now, which begins with Down and Dirty.
Actually, I forgot, this is my least favorite card in the set.
For the splits?
Yeah, for the splits.
I mean, yeah, it's fine. It's just really... What cracks me up is that Recollect is half of this card, and it is just totally fair. Regrowth is busted, but yet Recollect is cool.
Yeah.
You know, like the exact same spell for just 1 extra mana.
They did just unrestrict it.
In Vintage.
Well, yeah.
Good thing everybody plays that format. Down and Dirty, ultimately, like, Down is, I mean, it's a great card in Sealed. because in sealed, like you would play 4 mana, discard 2 cards
Yeah.
when you're looking for your 22nd, 23rd spells, because discard spells are awesome in sealed.
Yeah.
Where you get down to a grindy. I'm only holding my biggest bombs.
You get
I'm only
down
holding.
to the grindy.
Yeah, and then they get dirty when they return it back. What? So the ability to get rid of your opponent's best 2 cards that they've been sandbagging is a thing. The ability to get back your best card or your best removal spell is a thing. It's going to be awesome in sealed. I feel like in limited, in draft, it gets worse, and then obviously in constructed formats, it's basically unplayable.
Yep.
That's the thing.
That's the thing.
All right, there you go. There's your card evaluation, ladies and gentlemen. So armed
No, I
and
mean, you got it all. That was
yeah, I'm
correct.
just checking. I didn't miss anything.
No, you didn't miss anything. That's where it's at. It's for sealed.
There you go. Armed and dangerous. Is armed.
This
and
is
dangerous.
sweet. I love lure effects. I love like the ability to give it +1/+1 in first strike. Like both these sides seem really sweet to me. Like the +1/+1 in first strike isn't as powerful as like weapon surge or whatever that was in the set. But like just being able to make this creature get blocked and all the other damage get through.
Just lure.
Yeah, I love lure and I like effects like that. So
I love it. I think the card is sweet. In limited, it does what you want to do, which is break stalemates and give you the boost to just crush them if that's what you want. You know, this guy over here, and then this guy over here gets the boost in the double strike. This guy over here is the one you have to block. Good luck winning the game. I think that's an awesome place to be in.
Yeah, this is really sweet, and just giving something double strike when you just want to wrath their board with this card and that creature. So
exactly,
I'm a fan of this card a lot.
There's a flexibility there that is terrific. Now for our rare, we have Flesh and Blood.
I think this is like at least the fling part is sweet because it's not fling; it's just the damage.
Right.
That's the cool thing. Like you don't have to sacrifice the guy.
Sure. And that's certainly the benefit and the bonus. It cracks me up that Flesh is Varal's ability, yet you had to pay 5 mana for it, versus like Varal's just says, well, just pay the guy's casting cost. So you would pay 5 mana for Flesh for a Vexing Devil to give 4+1/+1 counters, where if you just have Varal's out, you play a red.
Yeah.
There's a weird disconnect in how those things work.
Yeah, I feel like this card was like early in development and they just kind of like forgot it existed.
Or we're just like, well, Varal's does this thing over here, and he's supposed to be awesome, and he's legendary, and like, way to explain it. Flesh is fine, whatever.
Maybe they thought it was too busted to just have both together and just being able to like, 1-2 punch your opponent.
I think part of it is that, and you see that with their split cards, their cost increases as the advantages to both of the spells sort of add up. And I think that's what happens. Ultimately, limited, it'll be fine card. It's a little slow.
Yeah, it is a little slow. I mean, it is cool that you can just like
Sealed is awesome.
I mean, it's going to be a quick pick, just because it's like it is another removal spell. It's a fight without actually having to fight.
Sure.
So that's like the cool side of it.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, again, if nothing else, all you do is use the blood side. Okay.
Yeah, just kill a guy, and you don't have to worry about, and you don't have to trade your 5/5 kills their 5/5. So.
Right. There's a way to get a lot of value out of this card, which is what I like the most about it. Now, I'm just going to go ahead and say that my favorite clue stone is Blue's clue stone. Clue stones, we got some clue stones. Let's look and draw some cards now. Come on! It's gonna be awesome. We are gonna play clue stones. We are gonna play clue stones. We are gonna play clue stones and draw a lot of cards. Yay! That's what we're going to do. And that's all of our set review.
That's it.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Did you have fun?
I hope you guys had fun.
Can anyone find the maze? Is anyone? Is
Where
there
the
a maze?
at? Is there a maze?
Is there a maze?
Because we're not in it anymore. We went down in it. We kept taking our rights, and we got out of it.
We're out of the maze.
Told you. Awesome. So, ladies and gentlemen, that was our complete Dragon Maze set review. Woo! Oh, I love it. I think it's a sweet set. I think it's Zach Hill's swan song. I think it's sort of hates a lot on Sphinx's Revelation. Has a lot of pillar fill boxes.
Well, he's got my, my needs.
Oh,
in
sure.
mind, so.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of every type of player got something that they liked in the set, and that's cool. I think they pushed it in a lot of different ways. I think there's an absolute ton of 2/4s, as we saw, But part of that I think is for the draft environment to really sort of slow itself down and let itself form.
Yep.
But overall, in terms of design, I love the fuse mechanic. In terms of development, I love the silver bullets.
Yep.
And there's
Except
not a lot to
the
complain about
spider.
here. The spider is late, but the spider feels like, if you're a lead developer of a set and you really wanted this card to exist, because if there were a Delver deck in the future, it would be the best card ever for that deck. It just kind of just plants the seed of you're not able to lose to Delver decks in the future because this card does exist.
That makes sense.
And I'm okay with that.
Yeah, cool.
Ultimately, guys, we thank you so much for watching. We get a ton of love and a lot of emails and a lot of kudos from the fans out there, and we spend a ton of time doing this, and we appreciate you watching all of it. And so until M14, I'm Evan Irwin.
I'm Brad Nelson.
And we are tapping the cards.
So you don't have to, son. Huh?